We've been talking to young people about the issues that they want addressed on the world stage. Let's just first start with this video that was sent to us. This is Ali. He is 22 years old. He's from Turkey. He lives in Prague, and he had something quite scathing to say about Donald Trump after Donald Trump rejected the ideology of globalization. Let's just have a quick listen to this clip.
Trump calling for patriotism over globalism and throwing around threats all around the United Nations not only isolates the United States further, but also threatens the future of our generation.
So Ali there saying that what Mr. Trump has said, his rhetoric threatening the future of that young generation. Well, in Ireland, Faye Murphy from Cork, she's 22 years old. For her, the issue that needed addressing was more education when it comes to violence against women. Let's just have a listen to this clip.
The issue affecting young people here in Ireland is the issue of sexual violence and violence against women in particular. We would like to see the UN General Assembly working more to put pressure on the issue of consent, to have the issue of consent, the conversation started, not just at third level, but at second level as well, because education is very sparse here in Ireland on this issue.
So, Faye, they're wanting to improve education on that issue. Well, this does give the UN a different perspective, hearing from these young voices. Well, somebody who is in New York is the Vice President of the European Youth Council, Dejan, and he wants the UN to really embrace youth and to even power share, he says, with the younger generation. I'm just going to play you his video here now. Let's have a listen.
Here at Ankara, the Secretary General of the UN, Guterres, had launched the first ever UN youth strategy on behalf of the UN system. So for me, it is now the turn for UN member states. I'm going to be having my eyes and ears open for addresses from heads of governments to the General Assembly, and I want to hear from them how they plan to share power with young people and how they are going to deliver the rights for my generation.
So there we are. That's just some of the voices that we've heard from. And of course, the UN actually have been trying to make an effort a lot more in engaging the youth. And they did that. We saw this earlier this week, that they actually brought in South Korean pop band BTS into the picture. Now, they were brought in to help launch the Generation Unlimited campaign, which is this new partnership to try and ensure every young person is in education, training and employment by 2030. So an effort is being made to engage with the youth. The youth want to be heard, and now they want to see actions on the issues that they care about.
Galina, tell us more about this investigation. What do we know about the man, first of all, and how this investigation was actually carried out?
Well, according to Bellingcat and those who helped them in Russia, the insiders, Russian, their bureau is located not far away from here and from the Kremlin. Ruslan Bashirov, a man whom we know as Ruslan Bashirov, is the 39 years old man, Anatoly Chepiga, who is the main directorate colonel, an intelligence officer who worked for intelligence services for 17 years and at least 9 years undercover. He served for a special forces unit, Spetsnaz. He has more than 20 awards, and one of them is the hero of Russia. Now, they explained how did they track him down. They decided to search in the schools that prepare the intelligence officers, and they found one at the Far East, the Far East Military Command Academy of Rokossovsky, and they looked through the photos in the open sources made between 2001 and 2003. And so there was this photo made in Chechnya, and one man looked like Bashirov, and the inscription was "Our alumnus at a peacekeeping mission." So that's how they got the name Anatoly Chepiga. So they went further. They found a passport profile of this man, and then they saw those pictures, photos at this passport profile, and he did look like Bashirov, but a bit younger. And after they found at another data source an address of this man, which corresponded to the 14th Brigade of Spetsnaz, this elite source that I've told you before. So that's what we know about this investigation.
Galina, as you mentioned there, this Colonel Chepiga is a hero of the Russian Federation. That's Russia's highest state award, given by the president personally. He received the title in 2014 when Vladimir Putin was president. That would suggest Vladimir Putin actually knows him. Is that correct?
Exactly. Actually, it's the president who signs the decree. He decides who is the one to be awarded, and after he is supposed to give this award to this person that merits it. Now, there are several ceremonies, the public ones and the secret ones, and according to this investigation, the one of Chepiga was held in a secret, in secret. But we know that Vladimir Putin gave around several hundred awards to military officers in total, and he has a very sharp memory. So if he did give this award to Chepiga, he has to know this man, and so the investigators, they conclude that Vladimir Putin from the very beginning knew who Ruslan Bashirov was. Well, the Kremlin has not responded yet, but the spokeswoman of the foreign ministry, Maria Zakharova, has already written at her Facebook page that all of this is just fake news and propaganda against Russia.
Now, the UN calls it ethnic cleansing, and the US is being asked to declare last year's Myanmar military campaign on Rohingya Muslims a genocide. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was criticized for failing to use that word in a report about the crisis, which saw thousands dead and hundreds forced to flee. Joining us now in the studio is Monica Pina. Monica, you've reported extensively on this story. You've visited refugee camps in Bangladesh. Tell us more about the situation of these hundreds of thousands of people fleeing Myanmar.
Good morning. So we can say that 1 year down the line, you said it, hundreds of thousands of people have crossed the border. The dynamics of the crisis has changed. This doesn't mean that the situation can be considered any less urgent, but the situation has stabilized. This means that camps are a bit more organized. People have settled in. Even if we are talking about shelters, I was surprised to walk, for example, on bamboo bridges and pathways in the camps I visited. Nevertheless, we have to consider that we are talking about 1 million Rohingyas, 1 million refugees settling in one of the poorest countries in the world. And the humanitarian agencies have managed to guarantee basic needs, but still Rohingyas in Bangladesh are denied basic rights. For example, the fact of having the refugee status, while in Myanmar they didn't even have the citizenship. This is why everybody is calling them the stateless minority. So, as you said, I've just come back from Bangladesh, southern Bangladesh, and I just suggest that we have a look at the report I filmed there.
Chiprang is a makeshift camp for over 23,000 Rohingyas in Teknaf, southern Bangladesh. Last year, it didn't exist. Today, around 1 million Rohingyas live in similar settlements, official camps or mixed with the host community.
1 year has passed since 720,000 Rohingyas were forced to flee into Bangladesh following a military crackdown in Myanmar. We came back to Bangladesh to follow up on their living conditions in one of the poorest countries in the world.
Last year's exodus was not the first for Myanmar's Muslim minority, but it was by far the biggest. They fled violent repression that the UN recently stated could amount to genocide. No one really knows how many Rohingyas died. Over 24,000 according to the latest independent report by international researchers. But Myanmar's authorities ban anyone from investigating in Rakhine State, the Rohingyas' home for generations.
I come from Tulatoli. I saw soldiers killing people, throwing them in a pond, and raping women. This is why I left.
Are they all from...
Refugees like this man have found a peaceful environment and basic assistance in Bangladesh, but they are living in overcrowded camps, hastily built to cope with the world's fastest-growing refugee crisis. The EU, among the main donors here, warns that the attention of the international community needs to stay high.
Refugees have access to water, to shelter, have access to food. Yet they're in need of protection, they're in need of livelihood opportunities. They remain stateless and without a legal status in this country. That means they're unable to move freely in between the camps. They cannot work and they are not entitled to receive proper education.
Just walking around the camp shows how much has been done, though it's evident how hard it is to deal with a crisis that is likely to last. Water and sanitation are among the main challenges. The French NGO Solidarités International is a specialist in tackling problems caused by contaminated water.
There are no diseases outbreaks, so far things are under control, and this way we contribute to a better public health environment. Now we are thinking about the resilience of the infrastructure. So we are working to make it sustainable in the medium term and then to cope with the continuous stay of the refugees in the region.
Bangladesh has urged the global community to increase pressure on Myanmar to ensure the repatriation of Rohingyas, but the Muslims of Myanmar refuse to return without guarantees.
We are seeking justice for the genocide we are suffering. We want Myanmar's government to recognize us as citizens, otherwise we won't go back. We don't want to stay in these shelters made of tarpaulins. We are seeking recognition.
It's a very difficult story to watch. Why do you think there's been such a reluctancy by the international community to actually do something to even recognize this crisis, this operation against the Rohingya, a genocide?
Yeah, because the perception of genocide is perceived as the most serious crime. And then once we use this term, the international community, the members of the international community would have the moral obligation to do something about it. So that's the problem. And everybody anyway agrees that the best long-term solution has to come from Myanmar, and it's political.